G'day. Welcome. This is Mark from Crypto Boy in Oz. That was my Aussie accent. As you've probably guessed, you might not have done if you're watching from like the US or non-English speaking countries, but I ain't Australian. I am from the UK, from England, from a little town called Bolton, which is in the northwest, and that was my Aussie accent, and that's as good as I get. If I do any longer than that, it goes to shit. So, g'day. Anyone can do that, but when you're trying to do a prolonged sentence, it gets difficult, and the longer I talk, the worse it gets. So I won't go into that. Thanks for tuning in again. I love the fact that I've got 6 followers, and possibly, I keep saying it, but gotta be the smallest crypto channel on the whole of the interwebs. I'm sure of it. I mean, who's going to be smaller? And as I said on the previous video, it is intimate, and it's just me and you, and we're going to follow each other from start to finish. This time next year, life-changing wealth for me, probably for you. And in 4 years' time, if we hold our bags, I can't imagine where we're going to be. I mean, as long as obviously crypto doesn't die a death, and I think the only way that would happen if we got struck by a meteorite and everyone on the planet was kind of wiped out. But I don't think that's going to happen. So today's video, I'm just going to look at the charts because I wanted to just point out we had a pretty big dump yesterday, and Bitcoin did drop in price. So I'm just going to jump over to the chart. Just give me a second. Here we are, I think. Are we live? Are we not? I think we are. So if you just look at this chart, in fact, I'm just going to come out of this studio mode because it is so small, I can't see it. And if I look at my other screen, I don't want to look like I'm being ignorant and not addressing you guys. So just 1 second. There we go. We're back. So yeah, if you look here, the price kind of dropped rapidly from here, and for myself, I kind of got stopped out around what 35. To be perfectly honest, I don't hold Bitcoin, but at the minute I've not got any Bitcoin. But it doesn't matter because as Bitcoin dropped, everything dropped. So around this point, I got stopped out, and then the price went down and down, and we didn't know where it was going to go, and I didn't manage to buy it back at these low values because I wasn't sure how low it was going to go, and I think I was actually asleep. And then when I woke up, the price was hovering around the same price as what I paid for it. And normally, what you tend to do is wait for it to hit resistance, and then kind of come back down and retest the level it kind of dipped down from originally. But I kind of got FOMO, and emotions are a funny thing, and I just jumped back in. I literally jumped back in where I left off, and I'm glad I did because the prices continued to go up, and I didn't think they were going to go up so much, and they kind of got almost to 38,000. I think they got to about 37,600 thereabouts on the wick, and there's been like it's come down a little bit. It's at 37, and is it going to come back down to the levels that everyone got stopped out at? Because a lot of people would have got stopped out around the same number, around 30, because it was up here, and then I think a lot of people would have got stopped out around 35.5 to 35,000, like the bottom of this wick here, around that point. So I'm hoping. Well, I don't know if I'm hoping or not. Do I want it to come back down again? Because really, I've got all my fiat is back into crypto now. So for myself, there's no benefit. But if you notice here, what I actually did is this is when I kind of bought back in here, and I expected it to go up, touch the resistance, and then bounce back down. And where that goes from here, I don't know. So it has done what I thought it would do. It didn't quite get to resistance, but it's kind of bouncing back down. This is on the 4-hour chart, so we'll see how low it goes. I mean, if it does go back down to 35, then that's brilliant for everyone that got stopped out because they've not actually lost anything, or they might have. You might be talking like 2-3% losses. But if it goes down lower, I mean, if it retests the lower low, or if it retests this low, then people are going to be laughing because they're buying back in and they're making 10% maybe. But looking at all the news that's been going on and the actual dominance of Bitcoin, it's actually reversed. And I think the El Salvador news maybe has spurred it on, and I think what's going to happen now, because the domination's changed, I think really Bitcoin is gonna really go up and change now, and I think the altcoins are obviously going to follow it. And I didn't really want to be in fiat at the minute just because of the dominance what Bitcoin's showing, because there's nothing like being on the sidelines. I mean, I don't know what's worse. I don't know what's worse, being in crypto when the price has gone down and you're looking at fiat and you think, holy shit, it's like I'm down 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%, or being in fiat when the price, you're anticipating it going down, but you don't really know because nobody knows. The candles tell the story. And being out on the sideline, that's a scary thought as well because you don't want to miss the train, you don't want to miss the boat. What I will say, I think I've said it before, but whatever you own, whatever is in your portfolio, if you've got an Ether, you've got 1,000 Cardano, you've got 1,000 Polkadot, you've always got 1,000 Polkadot, you've always got 1,000 Cardano, you've always got an Ether. So regardless of what the US dollar's doing, if you just hold it, you've always got that amount. So regardless of how high or how low it goes in fiat, you're not losing anything. Just stop thinking in USD. I know that obviously for life-changing wealth, that's what you do think of. That changes you. That is what changes your life. But for the short term, if you're only just getting into it now, forget about fiat currency. Forget about it. I know it's hard, but if you were happy with what you purchased at the time, like I said yesterday, strong fundamentals, don't worry about it because this time next year, it'll be a hell of a lot different, providing we're in a bull market, which I can't. We're not in a bear market. We're just not. So, yeah, keep hold of it. So, anyway, this is my channel. This is my YouTube channel. And I love what I've done with it. I'm really happy with it. And slowly but surely, it's coming along. And if you look here, look, El Salvador adopts Bitcoin. I've had one view. But I don't care because that is just me sharing my information with one other person. And previous video, 2 views, 11 views, 7 views. This one here, Bitcoin and altcoin dumping hard. 28 views. People are watching. Might all be small amounts of people, but it doesn't matter. It does not matter because everybody starts somewhere. So let's jump in, and there's a couple of stories I wanted to just look at. So Microstrategy gets 1.6 billion orders in junk bond offering. It actually only Michael Saylor only was looking for $400 million. That's all he was looking for. So they saw 1.6 billion worth of orders in a recent junk bond offering, 4 times the initial sought amount. Earlier in the week, the company announced it would issue 400 million worth of junk bonds in a private offering with a view to using these proceeds to purchase Bitcoin. So imagine that. They just wanted 400 million to like raise like a seed round, if you will, and they get 16. They get what, 1.6 billion. So basically, junk bonds are debt offerings by companies without investment grade credit ratings and typically offer investors higher returns while carrying higher risk. Returns between 6.1 and 6.25% have been floated for the bonds, eclipsing the returns offered by treasury bonds. The note will be fully and unconditionally guaranteed on a senior secured basis, jointly and severely by Microstrategy Services Corporation, a wholly owned subsidiary of Microstrategy, and certain subsidiaries of Microstrategy that may be formed or acquired after the closing of the offering. In the announcement, that's what it said. One day later, the firm announced it would increase its bond offering to 500 million, after which it was inundated with 1.6 billion worth of orders. I mean, that's pretty amazing. MicroStrategy currently holds the most Bitcoin on its balance sheet out of all publicly traded companies, amounting to a dollar valuation of around 3.2 billion, more than twice the value of Bitcoin held by Tesla. MicroStrategy's stock price soared throughout much of 2020 and 2021 in line with the rising price of Bitcoin, but holding Bitcoin on its balance sheet wasn't enough to stop MicroStrategy's stock slide, which eventually came when the cryptocurrency market dipped. Since Bitcoin peaked in early April, the MicroStrategy shape price has sunk by 45%. MicroStrategy also revealed the formation of a new subsidiary to holding its existing 92,079 Bitcoins, dubbed MicroStrategy LLC. So that's that news. So that just shows again that you're getting the network effect, you're getting the interest of the masses, the corporations, the institutions, the hedge funds. Every man and his dog wants to get into Bitcoin. And on one side, you've got all this positive news. On the other side, you've got all the FUD to drive the price down, to allow all these hedge funds, institutions, corporations, and now countries to jump in on the bandwagon and buy Bitcoin at ridiculously low value prices. And that's why the price is coming down, to allow all these other companies to onboard and get a bargain, while the retail investors are panicking, selling, thinking that Bitcoin is going to hell. And realistically, it's probably never going to see 20k. It's probably never going to see less than 30k. Purely because there's too much. Network effects too clever. There's too many institutions involved. There's too many hedge funds. Basically, there's too many big players that are buying up Bitcoin at $30,000. So how the hell can it go below 30k? Because that's when everyone's buying. That's when the Bitcoin dominance has kind of changed direction and started shooting up. And I think it's going to continue up and up and up. And I don't think it's ever going to come down until the end of the bull cycle. But that's just my opinion. It could go down to 20k. It could. Can't deny it. Anything's possible. The charts don't lie. But you can only look at the candles, and they tell you what's happening. Nobody else can tell you what's going to happen, unless you're a big whale and you've got a substantial amount of Bitcoin that you can crash the market. But apart from them very few people, or the orchestrators of these kind of FUD stories that drive the price down, nobody knows. So just jump onto another quick story which I found interesting. So proposed New York Bitcoin mining ban watered down to allow green projects. So yeah, Bitcoin, New York, very strict indeed. I think New York and California are probably the most strictest states in the US. So New York senators have amended a proposal to ban all Bitcoin mining for 3 years, and are now seeking to only stop mining firms backed by carbon-based fuel sources, which kind of makes sense. They're realising that Bitcoin is kind of a new player in town. It's a new asset class, and I don't think there's any denying it now. So I think they're just backtracking a little bit to kind of allow investment, and it's probably because there's a hell of a lot of investment firms in New York that want to invest in Bitcoin. So having the 3-year ban on the mining and the strictness of the rules in New York probably wasn't a good thing, considering the narrative's changing. And that's what's happening. The narrative to cryptocurrency, crypto assets, specifically for corporations, Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's changing to the positive. And I don't think it'll stop now, because you've got El Salvador now it's legal tender. Every merchant has got to accept it. So the world banks have really got to accept it, because they can't refuse currency from a sovereign nation. They just can't. You've got Mexico, which I forgot to mention yesterday, Paraguay, and I think it's just one of many. I think this is a domino effect. I think this is something that's got to just continue and continue and continue. You've got to get all these South American countries, you get all the countries in Africa. I think you've got to get all these countries which are going to follow suit. They've all got to adopt Bitcoin as an accepted legal tender because they know where it's going. They know the risk of hyperinflation with their own currencies. They're looking at the US dollar, for God's sake, and the only reason why that isn't hyperinflation like these poor countries is because it's like the most it's like the reserve currency of the world. That's what it is, and that's the only reason why the US dollar hasn't plummeted, where people are taking wheelbarrows of dollar bills to go and buy a loaf of bread. If it wasn't a reserve currency, I think it would have already crashed. But I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I don't really know. It's just a thought that I have, and I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Anyway, back to the story. A proposed crypto mining ban calling for a forced 3-year hiatus. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not sure, actually. 3-year hiatus. Zoom in. Hiatus. On all mining operations in New York has been watered down and will now allow green projects. I should hope so. And after, obviously, the mining ban in Australia, in China, and all the mining equipment, a lot of it's been bought out by North American, but it's been sold to companies or whatever in North America. So there's going to be a lot of green mining done because it's a narrative now, like coal-based plants, which are powering Bitcoin. They're not going to get away with it, especially in like your countries like the US and Canada and Australia and the UK. Well, the UK is going to struggle with solar powered mining for sure, because obviously you need the sunshine. But the bill passed in the Senate on June the 8th and has now been referred to the State Assembly. If the bill is passed in the Assembly, it will be delivered to Governor Andrew Cuomo to either approve or veto the proposed legislation. The initial New York Senate Bill 6486A sought to halt all crypto mining for 3 years in order to conduct environmental impact reviews on mining operations in the tri-state area. However, the bill was amended in the Senate to get it over the line, and the revised 6486B bill is now focused solely on any firms that use carbon-based fuel source to power proof-of-work crypto mining. And here's the Twitter by the New York State Senate. So sponsored by Senator Parker. Passed 36-27 unofficial. Sorry, don't know what that means. Established a moratorium on consolidated operations that use proof-of-work authentication methods to validate blockchain transactions. So all in all, again, it is more positive news. And this is all stemming, all of it, every single positive, every bit of positive news that you see, especially from institutions and governments, it's all network effect. That's all it is. One good story after another, after another, and after another, because everyone's realizing that all this FUD, the rubbish, is exactly that. It's just complete nonsense. There's no fundamentals. There's no fundamental proof behind any of it. When you dig deep and look at all the research, it's all complete hocus pocus. Like, you're getting people talking about Bitcoin is used by the underworld and it's used to commit crime and ransomware. Okay, it is. But so is any other form of ransom or illicit activities. It's dollar bills, or it's offshore bank accounts. It's just that cryptocurrency is just an easier way to transfer funds. And in all honesty, if people are dumb enough to ransomware, or like steal the term for it, like blackmail people and accept payment in Bitcoin, then that's good, because it's good for governments and the legal services like the FBI. It's good for them because they can actually trace the transactions. So if people are using Bitcoin for illegal activities, then it's not really a secret because it's on the blockchain and everybody can see it. And retrieving it might be a bit more difficult because obviously you need private keys, unless they're doing it on exchanges, which it's not a professional kind of setup if that's how they're actually conducting the illegal activities, because obviously if not your keys, you've not really got it, have you? But if anyone's got it on their own private key, it's not accessible by anybody. I mean, this story was released yesterday about the FBI, and it kind of sent the market down a little bit because they were talking about they retrieved some stolen funds from this ransomware attack. See, they kind of make it a little bit vague and they don't go into detail, and they kind of fear people into thinking, oh my God, people can just take my Bitcoin. Well, they can't. They can't. It's 100% mathematically impossible to access your private wallet. Completely impossible. Unless, I think Rand mentioned this on Crypto Banter, unless they've actually got quantum computers, which haven't been invented yet, then there's no way on earth that anybody can access your private key, unless they physically broke into your property and you had it on a piece of paper somewhere where anyone could see it. Now, that's probably what happened in this instance. They probably had it either I think they had it on an exchange actually, or even if they had it like on the personal computer and then they had the private key, obviously, well, they could access it, then that's a different story. That's their own obviously stupid mistake for not protecting the private key in the first place. But yeah, it's all this is again, it's all good news. So the more that you hear now, the more that you hear that's positive, it's just a network effect taking over. And I think as the price starts to increase, which I think over the next week, we're going to see either Bitcoin is either going to test the laws again. It's either going to come back down to 30,000, 31,000. It's going to test these laws that we've had. Because if you look here, so let's put a line across here. So 31. So he's got an itchy nose. So $31,000 is kind of the retest zone. If it bounces off that for the second time, I mean, it's already bounced off it twice already. So it's had a double bottom. Now, is it going to come down and retest it again? Because this one, what concerns me more with this one, you can say it's a double bottom, but this drop here, everyone bought up at 30,000 so fast, so fast. It was literally there for seconds, and then the same here again. It dropped from the bottom of the wick. Well, the bottom of the candle was like 33,000. It dropped down to 31,000, and that was seconds. So it hasn't spent too much time here. Here, on the other hand, it kind of slowly went down, and it virtually got there on a full candle, and then it was like everyone had buy orders in. Everyone must have had buy orders in from around 31.5 down to 31,000. Again, it was only there for a split second, but at least it got lower. So if what happens here, if we get a price, if we get a retest, and it kind of takes its time to get here, and it might be the same as here. It might get to like 32,000 on full candles, and then it might just a wick bounce off the resistance line. and then back up again, then I think that is a true double bottom. And then I think it's going to find its way upwards, and I think we're going to go back up and retest $42,000. If it breaks the resistance considerably, then I think we're probably on a downward trajectory. How low we'll go, not too sure. I mean, it's hard to say because there isn't really any. Zoom out a second. I'm on the 4-hour chart here, so in fact I'll jump on. So the last resistance that we had was here. So we've got a bit of support at 28,000, just 28,500, and then from there, there's not really anything to about this point here. So between 22,000 and 19,000, this area. So these are the key areas. So you've got here 28, then here 22 to 19,000. So, and the reason why I don't need to jump onto other charts because they're all basically doing the same thing. They're all doing similar. They've all got a similar story to tell. Difference being with your altcoins, they had quite a big drop. So I don't particularly think that they're going to go much lower than this lower low here what they've had. But the candles tell the story, so who knows? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the channel. If you do enjoy it, please smash the like button, because if you smash that like button, it lets YouTube know that you like the content and it'll show it in front of more people. And if you're not subscribing to the channel, please subscribe. And if you've got any friends or family that are interested in crypto that are just starting out, so refer them to my channel, because it's aimed at people that are just getting into it. And as I've said yesterday, I'm only new into it as well. I've just been doing a hell of a lot of research and absorbing as much information and knowledge as I can regarding to crypto. So I'm only like you. I've just been consuming a lot more knowledge, and that's all it is. And I mean, you might know as much as I do anyhow. You might know more than I do. You might be a millionaire. You might have been doing crypto for a long time and just amused by my content. Who knows? But anyway, until next time, which I'm hoping I'm going to be coming back tomorrow with another video. But again, I do work, so it's having time. So until next time, take care.